In this video, I want to look more specifically about how we set a task. So these are the key questions to ask. This could be a task in the middle of a unit of work, at the end of a unit of work, at the end of a year. It could be something that's a holistic assessment, combining with other areas of the curriculum. It doesn't really matter what, but we really need to think about how we explain a task to learners and what we're getting them to do. Here are some examples of tasks that you can see, and I've used some apps to help me create tasks and make them look more visual for learners. These two at the far end here are used using Picolage. And so what I've done is I've given the children a task, such as matching words and parts of the snowman. And they've got the French, they've got the image, and they have to write the correct answer or tell me the correct answer. And that then gives them the phrases to read. It gives them a picture, and then this can then be used as a model for them to do their own work and also then to do some writing potentially. So it can start as a reading assessment, it can be reading and speaking. It could also be a listening assessment. The teacher could be saying the words and the children would have to find them. And then it can then turn into a writing assessment. So all 4 skills could be used with this one activity. This was designed for a P2-3 class, working on parts of the body. We could also set a task here. This was a literacy task where children were, and expressive arts task. Children had drawn a picture of a bird and were describing their bird. And then I turned it into a French task by labelling the colours in French, trying to see if the children could remember these words and any other words they knew for colours, and then getting them to do their own task and label it in French. So again, it has a model for them, which is great. These 2 in the middle here are set using Chatterpix. And so you have, for instance, here a bird talking, and the children have to listen and work out what sort of a bird it is, describing itself, and then they can then create their own. And here we've got a visual dictionary trying to work out how to remember these words, and the video tells us different ways of doing it, and it shows the children an example for them to then create their own. So you can see in all these tasks, the children are well supported, and it shows them what they could use to create their own. Okay, I think it's really important to remember that when we're doing a task, we need to support all learners to achieve whatever their needs are. We need to be thinking very carefully about what reference materials we give them to support them, if they need support such as word banks or templates of any description, and what conditions they need to be able to achieve. You'll know your learners best and what they need, and what they need generally, say, for support in other areas of the curriculum, and languages is no different. I think it's also really important that we think about sharing the learning journey with the learners and also with parents, okay? We need to think about, when we're setting an assessment task, what the success criteria are. How can we break down the benchmarks or the experiences and outcomes into I can statements? We've got some examples here of I can statements with skills, and it can also be for language. I can name 3 parts of the body, for instance. Are children going to be assessing their own work or assessing their partner's work and using, for instance, traffic lighting? Could it be a conversation with a teacher or in class? How are we going to give them feedback and next steps? What would that look like? 2 stars and a wish, for instance. And children could produce an evidence of their work through a portfolio. For instance, here there is an I can statement with bubbles with different areas of language that children might be able to do or should be able to do by the end of a level. And that can then be traffic lighted to show where they're at in their progress once they've completed some work, for instance. And here are some things to remember when we're setting tasks of any description. So I'll just let you have a read of those, okay? And they sum up everything.